welcome everybody to another edition of the GioMoShow interviews right here on WXOU Sports. I'm your host, Giovanni Moscheri, and we continue our alumni series of WXOU Sports with a man here who needs no introduction, but you're going to get one anyway, so sit still.
I'll take it.
So we got today the president of Detroit Sports Media, or the Detroit Sports Media Association. We have the host of Big D Energy on Woodward Sports, the play-by-play voice of DCFC, and the director of broadcasting here at Oakland University. It's the one and only Neal Ruhl. Neal, how you doing?
Giovanni, good to see you again, my friend. Good to be back here, too, at WXOU, by the way. You guys did a great job of updating it, but yet keeping it the same, if that makes any sense.
Definitely. And it's got a fresh coat of paint on it, but we got all the knickknacks from back in the day.
100%. All the CDs are still here. I remember those, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think these have moved since you seen it. But so what I always like to do here on the GioMoShow interviews, I got to start with a blank slate, and I got to know your sports foundation. What were your sports growing up, whether you played them or watched them, and kind of how did you get started in the world of sports from a young age?
It was pretty much every sport. I lived back in my day, you just played sports with everybody in the neighborhood all the time, and it followed the seasons, right? Like we did baseball in the summer, and then that would move into football and basketball, and then in the wintertime we played hockey, and then it all just kind of repeated itself. So I did that as a kid, just in the neighborhood constantly. Like that's what I did. Like my existence pretty much consisted of getting up, eating a bowl of cereal while I watched cartoons, and then either go outside to play in the summer or go to school. And sports was it, man. I mean, sports, and I've been lucky, right, because of the life that I have. That's never really changed. The cereal, I cut the cereal part out, but other than that, it hasn't really changed, man. So that's really what it was. My biggest sport that I played the most was golf. As a kid, I was all county in high school. I got a couple of looks from colleges, a couple of Division III scholarship. I mean, they don't really technically have scholarships, but technically like scholarship offers for Division III, like Baldwin Wallace in Ohio, Tiffin, stuff like that. But in the end, I wasn't going to go into broadcasting in school. I originally wasn't going to do that. I wanted to be a stockbroker. I was going to go into finance, but I didn't know how many accounting classes that you had to have.
Oh yeah.
It was absurd. It was absurd. There was way too much math involved. So that I did the rounds in that, said, hey, this isn't really for me. And then kind of circled the wagons and went into broadcasting and journalism. Here I am today.
And that, I'm sure broadcast and journalism, that's a little, when I always imagine it from my parents' perspective. Like for me, I'm going to graduate with a mechanical engineering degree. Mm-hmm. But, as I've kind of told them and expressed like, hey, I really like this broadcasting thing. That's a whole different dimension. That's right. The much different, job stability and lifestyle. It's a whole different thing. So
yes, it is.
So when you kind of made the decision to go that route, kind of what was, I'm sure it wasn't an easy decision for you and kind of, telling the rest of the family, right?
No, it was an easy decision for me. It was more in terms of economics, right? So I'm always brutally honest, like with my story, where the first time I went to college, it didn't work out. I struggled with freedom. I'll say it like that. Like there was no one to say, hey, you have class Monday at 8 a.m. I mean, I knew I had class Monday at 8 a.m.
Right.
But, so I struggled, and it was a tough go. So I actually stopped going to school after the first year and took a little time off and then went back to school. So I'm married to my high school girlfriend. Like homecoming sophomore year in high school was our first date. Freshman year of high school was our first date. So, I've kind of been with her forever. And I remember saying to her, I was going to school to do this and everything like that. I was going to Oakland to do this, but I was also working, like I was delivering pizzas. My family owned a pizzeria, and I was working delivering pizzas. And, I did my schooling. I graduated. I got a job here with Oakland doing the radio side. I was working with Mario Mpemba at the time, who was a voice of Oakland back then. And I was still working my pizza job and stuff like that. So I told her, this is what I want to do. And her thing to me was, well, then go do it, and it was that simple. But I always knew I was still responsible, right? For putting food on the table and making money and stuff like that. So that's kind of how it all started. And, it was bare bones. It was like every other success story in broadcasting. It wasn't a lot of money, but I made it enough, and it was at the expense of you work a lot of weekends and a lot of nights and you do all that. Yeah, you know, you do all that stuff. And when your friends are out, you know, this is in my, you know, early 20s. Like when my friends are out in Royal Oak and they're goofing around and stuff like that, like I couldn't go do it, but I didn't care. Like I like having a good time and like going out and stuff like that. But, you know, in order to make this all work, that's what I had to do. So that's what I had to do.
And kind of walk me through the story, because I remember, like, we've talked a little bit,
Yeah,
chit-chatting here
absolutely.
between games, and I know that you started originally at Saginaw Valley State, is
Yeah,
that right?
that's correct. Yeah.
And then made your way to Oakland University.
Right.
Kind of walk me through how you found Oakland University and then ultimately here at WXOU.
Well, because it was close to where I lived. Number one, see, this is very simple. And if you're one of the college professors out there, you know, we'll get to that part later. Okay. But for me, and this isn't, I don't know if this is smart or not, but it's my story and it's how it happened. I couldn't afford to go away anywhere. I wanted to do broadcasting. All the broadcasters come from Syracuse and stuff like that, Northwestern, all those kinds of schools. That wasn't an option for me. So for me, it was, I want to work in sports. Where are the sports teams good? For real. Like, that's going to blow your mind if you're watching this and say, wait a minute, what? Like, you picked your school based on the sports teams? Yeah, I did. And it was Oakland or Eastern. Those were the choices. And Eastern was awful at everything, and Oakland had just gone to the NCAA tournament, and that's why I went to school at Oakland. There's no curriculum, there's no academic discussion, there's no program discussion, there's none of that. They had just gone to the NCAA tournament at Oakland. I wanted to work in sports. It's easier to make it when a team wins. At Eastern, they're terrible at sports, so I'm not going there. Period. End of story, which blows a ton of people's mind. I get it. I understand it. But it is that simple, and guess what? I was right.
And I'll tell you what, for those listening, that's why it's so important that our team gets to the NCAA tournament, because we get Neal Ruhl's rolling by.
Well, I mean, but, you know, we laugh, but it is true. Like, when you boil it all down, that is true. I mean, sports are the front porch to a university. There's no question about it. When, you know, hopefully as I was working here in 2010, 2011, we went to the NCAA tournament, enrollment shot up. Every time a sports team accomplishes something in college, guess what happens? Enrollment goes up. And that's just, those are facts. There's data points to it everywhere. So yeah, they're vitally important, man. Here, they got all that tuition money from me because they went to the NCAA tournament. No other reason. It's shallow, I know, but it is what it is.
I had Kevin Beers on the show, like, I think almost a year ago at this point. He said the same thing, that sports are the front porch of a university. Yep. So it's ultimately important. And for what you do, play-by-play, and, you know, you being kind of the satellite front porch for Oakland University, you got an important job doing play-by-play and as the director of broadcasting, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where it helps too. Like in these big-time places that have teams, you have people doing that job that didn't go to the school, you know, that went to Syracuse or Northwestern or wherever they went.
Broadcasting schools, yeah.
Yeah, you know, here, I think in Michigan too, we're fans of our own, right? Like Detroit versus everybody and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, me being a student of Oakland, an alum of Oakland, I think that really adds something because I feel it more when I'm sitting there. And I'm not saying like I'm a cheerleader or a clown or anything like that on the microphone, but it you know, it's just a fact. Like, it means more to me because this is my school and this is where I went, and that's part of the reason why I went here. And, you know, obviously I loved my time at Oakland, loved my time at WXOU, which I know we'll get to in just a couple of minutes, but, you know, it was very foundational to all that. And I think it helps. And I think that helps too. Like winning's the most important thing. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't sit here and say, you know, people watch the game because of me or anything like that. No, it's the team. And I've always, you know, I try to have fun with the broadcast, but the team's a story. Yeah. And winning's a story. And that's what makes people happy. That's what kind of brings them back in. And we've won a lot here when I've been at Oakland. And that's helped. I've reaped the benefits of that. You know, the people, and as this thing's grown, I've reaped the benefits, no question about it, about the winning and stuff like that, because people watch and people listen, and I'm passionate about it because it's my school, man. Yeah, and whether you want to or not, there's going to be that little more 100% extra inflection with the, you know, you get a three-pointer for, of course. Like, you feel that a little bit more because, you know, it's an extension of you and your identity. Right. And, you know, it's an extension of my financial identity. You know, that my paycheck says Oakland University on it. I mean, it just does. Because I always get a kick out of the people like in the Horizon League that get mad, you know, about the, you know, when you say of course and stuff like that, and I hate it and all that kind of stuff. And You need to be straight down the middle. And I'm like, I don't work for the Horizon League. I work for Oakland. I don't work for ESPN Plus. I work for Oakland. I'll do whatever the situation, whatever my employer wants. That's what I'll do.
Yeah.
I'm weird like that.
Yeah, the boss likes it. So
Yeah, absolutely.
So now rewinding, getting back to here at WXOU, I know that you've told me countless horror stories about doing the games either by yourself, breaks, 3 hours straight, filling in for other people on TV. So through your days at WXOU doing that kind of play-by-play, how important was it to get those reps and to get all the experience you could here?
It was everything. Look, I've told the story about coming to Oakland, but being real about it, the reason I'm good at my profession is because of the time I had at WXOU. And whoever's watching this right now, and I would love you to even clip this and play this for people when they come in and they want to work here. My time at WXOU laid the foundation for me as a broadcaster to be good in any situation. And you talked about the time. I just walked in here and did a news update at noon, as it was part of our class, one of my classes. I don't even remember which class it was, to be honest with you. And I came in here, and one of the people that were working here at the time said, you're pretty good at this. Like, did you ever think about doing it? And I was like, well, yeah, I've always thought about doing it. They're like, well, do you want to do a show? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to do it. It's a sports show. And they're like, whatever show you want, like an hour a week, and it's your show, and you can do what you want. And I was like, yeah, man. So I started the next week, and I got the reps and reps and reps and reps. And, back at that age, I was obsessed with sports talk radio, and I was doing it. Now, were there a ton of people listening? Was it 97.1? No, it wasn't. But that's not what this is about. This is about getting reps and doing the work and being in there and stuff like that. And you know what else it was too? It gave me a great experience in growing an audience. And doing it's almost like professional wrestling in that, I don't know if you guys ever saw the 30 for 30 on Ric Flair. And they talked about Ric Flair, and they said, through hundreds of matches and hundreds of days, he kind of concocted this playbook of what he did, and he'd do something in the ring and the fans would respond to it. So we made sure he did that again.
Yeah.
And then he tried this and the fans didn't respond to it. So he didn't do that anymore. And then he tried this and the fans liked this. So we added that to the other thing that the fans like. That I learned how to grow an audience, like my own audience, like through social media and everything like that. And that was valuable. I mean, the whole thing was valuable, just the reps. And I was in there. And here's another point that really has stuck with me the entire time. No matter where I've been, I just got back from Washington, D.C. doing the Pistons game in the NBA. I did everything for my show. You know this. Yeah. You do everything for your show.
Yes.
You run the board, you play the commercials, you host it, you talk. I got to the point where I could take phone calls as I was doing the show.
Yeah, I did that a couple times.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know when I get somewhere professionally, I know and have a great deal of respect for what everybody around me is doing.
Yeah.
Like, I get the credit all the time, but it's not. It's everybody around me doing what they're doing yet, but I know that. So I don't become, kind of one of these jerks. And there are some in the business, that are very dismissive of people and their efforts and stuff. I'll never be that, man, because I was there. I did all that. I know how hard it is. When audio messes up, when an audio cable's bad and audio messes up, I know how hard that is. I know how stressful it is. When a computer crashes, when networks go out, I know. I've been there, man. I know how it is. So I don't flip out. I don't become a jerk. I just roll with it and deal with it. And I learned all that here. I mean, this was the most valuable here at WXOU was more valuable than my degree. Real talk it was. Because if you want to do it, then go do it. I heard Stephen A. Smith say this, and he was here at Oakland when he said it. He said, if you're going to be a sports journalist, then go be a sports journalist. You're not working at Macy's, you're not working at Target or anything like that. This is what you are, so you go do it. And when I was here at WXOU, I did talk radio. I don't care what you say. I did talk radio.
It happened.
I don't care what the audience was. I did talk radio. And, it was that, showing up, putting in the reps. I met lifelong friends here that I ended up working with that are in the industry. And it's my time here at WXOU was the best, man. It was. And as far as the play-by-play thing goes, that's the other thing that shaped me for that. Back then, we didn't have all this fancy stuff that you kids have now.
Oh, okay.
I had to walk uphill to the arena both ways. No, I'm kidding.
10 feet of snow.
10 feet of snow. When we were doing it back then, they would send it, I had my board and everything like that. They would send it to me from the station, and I had it, and there were no commercials at the time. So like 7 o'clock when the game starts, I have that through halftime. No commercials through the second half, throughout the entirety of the game.
Throughout all the timeouts, they stack on top of each other at the end. 100%. All the fouls, all the free throws.
All of it. I had to keep it for 2.5 hours or 2 hours to do the game. And again, that's the most valuable thing I've ever done in my life. I can do anything. I can do anything in broadcasting because of what I did here at WXOU.
Yeah, and when you talked about the doing everything and getting appreciation for everything,
right?
Even for me doing my show, the social media is such a daunting task. It looks so simple. It's like, oh, just do it, put it on there. No, it's so much more complicated to do it on the different platforms. And so all the people that do the social media for anything, I feel the same way. I got this just as much appreciation for them. It's not easy and it's not glamorous, let's say.
No, it certainly is not. But you learn. You absolutely learn, and you're going through it. That's why I have a lot of respect for you, man, because you're here, you're passionate, you show up every day. And there were people at WXOU when I was here. Like I always say, so I had my show where I was working with Mike Parsons, who's at WJR now. Mike and I are still lifelong friends. It was at his wedding and all that stuff. Kyle Bauer, Mike Parsons, and I all did a show together. We were here every week. Every week there was no, I don't feel like doing it. I want to take a nap. I'm going to go out to lunch. We held ourselves accountable to do the show because we had an audience. We had grown an audience.
Yeah, it
was small, but
it don't matter.
It was an audience, so we had that obligation to the audience to go do it. And so we had our show at the time, and then right after us, Kirby Gwen had a show, and Kirby and I got to be friends. And now she does corporate radio for Walmart.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So if you go into a Walmart shopping, and there's radio going on, that's her talking in every single Walmart in the world. So, it goes to show you. And she was here, I believe, at 97.9. She was up in Flint for a while. Like Kirby Gwynn was a star, and still is. And we had a crew, man. We had a squad of good people. And, we started winning awards for the station and all that kind of stuff. It was really cool.
Yeah, and for being dedicated to it, it took me a little bit to be week by week and dedicated to keep doing it, because when they got to a point when I would skip a week or like I was at home, I couldn't get to the station, it would hurt. I would feel bad to not do it and to just kind of keep going with it. It's like I just feel better when I do the show, when I have it, it's routine. And it even got to a point where like I start to tell people, hey, I'm doing the show. Hey, I'm doing this. I'm doing the games. To me, when I kept telling people that, and I kept, whether they would listen or not, I told them, so now they expect it from me. That was my kind of way to keep motivated and keep at this. So, now it's just routine. Now I can tell anybody, and it's like I'm going to be doing it anyway.
Well, my thing was with it too. What if this is the time that one person's listening? And when I say like that one person, like somebody at 97.1 or wherever. What if it was that time? Like, what if you had somebody out there that was kind of combing the streets and looking for who's next or whatever? What if that one time I don't go is that one time like they tune in, they're like it's not there, and then that's it, it's over.
Yeah, they're not gonna look twice.
No, and like that's, I've always thought like that. I think like that to this day. Anything I've ever done, I've carried that with me. So that's why for me, whenever I go to do something, I expect it to be of the utmost level. I don't care about my resources. Now doing professional radio with Oakland, there's a difference between what we do at Oakland and what Michigan does.
Yeah.
Michigan travels 5 or 6 people for radio. For Oakland, it's just me. But I don't care. I don't care how many people they have. Broadcast is going to be better. Like that's the standard that I hold myself to. I don't care about resources. I'll find a way. And I've always found a way. And the root of all that is because I found a way here at WXOU. I've been, this is going to sound really grand, forged in the fire, as you would say in a movie. But I mean, it is true. You get dunked in the fire and you got to find a way out.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah. I mean, for me doing it, how could I agree more? So moving on. So now you've graduated from Oakland University. You had your time at WXOU. what was your next step to continue in this broadcasting career? Like what were some of the spots that you kind of crash landed into? Kind of give me a crash course.
Yeah, so I mean, just to kind of give you the quick version. So I graduate from Oakland. Oakland hires me to do professional radio. Now it's seasonal. It's just during college basketball, and they had expanded the radio coverage, and now they were doing every game. So that involved the travel, and I was at the top of the world, man. Like I'm like, yeah, I'll go do this, and I'm working with Mario Mpemba, who to this day is a very, very good friend of mine, and kind of been a lot of a mentor for me about the business side and dealing with people and stuff like that. That's the other side of it where I talked about the way I treat people that are working around me and work with me. That came from Mario. Mario laid that down. And Mario's like, he's a great dude. Like, he's a nice person. That's the baseline. Like, he's a nice person. But he also said something very, very important that I've never forgotten to this day. We were at University of Tennessee, and back then we had an ISDN line. I don't know if your generation remembers the ISDN line.
I'm embarrassed to say I don't know.
You know, okay, yeah. But it was basically like the internet lines that everybody uses now, like the clarity and the quality.
Yeah.
But it was basically like, and this is not the exact numbers, basically like 1,000 phone lines crammed into one to make it really, really clear.
Yeah.
So it was an expensive technology at the time, and then internet came along and it was cheap, and kind of took that away. But there was an ISDN line, which is essentially the internet connection. We were at Tennessee playing, and I couldn't get it connected to the board. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So I went and got somebody from Tennessee. They couldn't figure it out either. And they're like, well, it's not working. So, I don't know. I don't know what we can do.
Yeah.
So I had to, do plan B and connect through the phone line, and the quality wasn't quite as good, and it's a little tougher to deal with and all that stuff. But long story short, we got done, and I said to Mario, I said, like, because I'm nervous, because we're not on, it's 8 minutes before we go on air, and we're not on air yet, man. That's the reason I'm here. Like, the reason they invest in me to get me down here is for this to happen.
I'm in Tennessee
right now.
Right now,
yeah. We flew in on a private jet. We stayed at the hotel. They fed me. Like, I'm here for this moment, and it's not working. But I got it handled because I was here at WI. I learned. I'm cool. I got to figure it out. We got on air, and I asked Mario. I said, like, because I was really, the guy at Tennessee was kind of blasé about it. He's like, well, then it doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, the away team radio, whatever.
Yeah, and Mario, after I got connected, we got to the first commercial break. He's like, oh, it doesn't work. Like, he goes, you think when Duke was here last week, do you think like they just said, hey, it doesn't work?
Yeah.
No chance. No chance, they said. They brought everybody over to deal with it when it was Duke.
They got a SWAT team for that.
Yeah, 100%. And but he told me, he said, Neal, I said, how were you so calm during that? And he's like, Neal, if I get angry and I blow that guy up, he goes, what does that solve? Are we on the air? I was like, no. And he goes, the next time, because we had a multi-game contract with them, the next time we come through here, if we have problems, is he more or less likely to come help you depending on how you treat him? I was like, yeah, absolutely. He's like, there's a thing. Like, he's a nice person, so I'm not saying he's like using people or anything like that. Yeah. But the flip side of that coin is you need that guy on your side. You have to have him on your side. Now, he couldn't figure that one out, but maybe the next time he can figure it out. And you got to have him on your side. And you don't get people on your side by being a jerk to them, man. You don't.
Right. Yeah, and that goes back to your experience and like knowing the people that you're working with, other than
100%.
Like the opposing team. You got to be on people's good side. You got to treat them well because who knows what's going to happen. Exactly.
Plus, dude, like,
and it's not like to use people. I mean, it's just
Yeah, I mean,
sometimes it happens.
Yeah, dude, and sometimes people don't have a good day, and life is hard, and all that, and your experiences aren't their experience. All that golden rule stuff that you've been taught your whole life. It's all that. But to see it in practice and then the explanation, the why behind it, really opened my eyes to it. But yeah, so I mean that was essentially it. So I get out. I'm still delivering pizzas, but I'm doing radio for Oakland. I do that for a couple years. We go to the NCAA tournament. I have a great time. Get to the NCAA tournament. It's the biggest stage in sports. It's something I've wanted as since I was a little kid to be a part of. And we get there and we play this classic game against Texas. They have 3 NBA guys, and we lose by 3 points at the end. And the whole arena gravitates towards the underdog in the NCAA tournament. And we're playing Texas.
Oh, the upsets are what it's about.
Yeah, that's what it's about. We're playing Texas, and I think Minnesota and I think Xavier or somebody like they were all there, and their fans are just going nuts for Oakland, and it's an incredible atmosphere. And we end up losing by a couple points, and we come back home, And that off season happens, and we get ready to go to the next season. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, dude, we just went to the NCAA tournament. Like, where's the jobs? Like, I thought that they were just going to come find me.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, where's the jobs? I'm not getting anywhere. You know, I thought I'd be off somewhere else by this point.
Yeah.
But no, you know, that wasn't the way that it worked. So, you know, I did it for another year, and then I was kind of looking around, and I got wife, and we just had a kid now at this point, and we just had another kid, and I was like, man, like this isn't happening. Like, I'm not getting anywhere. And I was like, well, I'm going to jump into the mortgage business. I went to work for Quicken over a summer, and so I kind of got that rolling a little bit. It was going all right. I didn't like it. Like, you know, it was a job. My parents worked in car factories.
Yeah.
I'm sure they didn't like it every single day. It was a job though, and it was fine. It was a lot of hours, but I wasn't in love with it. Like, I love doing this. Love it. But I was doing it, and that was when the Golden Grizzlies moved to the Horizon League. And with the move to the Horizon League, now every game's being broadcast on that time the Horizon League network, which is now ESPN Plus. So Oakland needed somebody to call literally 60 games, 70 games a year. And so they hired me as kind of a hybrid role, social media and broadcasting. And they gave me my salary, and I quit working at Quicken, and that's how I got into it here at Oakland. And then I just kind of, every single thing that we've ever done, I've kind of networked off of, and it's kind of built up and built up and built up to where I am today. So I remember we hosted the NCAA tournament here at the Palace when the Palace was here, and that's when I got kind of friendly with the Pistons people because we were working side by side.
Yeah.
And got to know them a bit. 2015, I think, comes. Their play-by-play guy can't make it on a road trip. So they call me. They're like, hey, you want to come to Washington and do the Pistons-Wizards game? I was like, yeah, I'll go. And so I went, and, you know, I've kind of filled in for them for the last 6 years, 7 years. And, you know, it's been great. That's kind of turned into soccer with Detroit. I was the only guy calling soccer because of Oakland Soccer and the Horizon League Network.
Yeah.
So when Detroit City FC said, hey, we're going to start streaming our games, those people, one of the owners of the team had worked with me in the past. He's like, hey, you want to come do our games? I was like, yep. So I'm doing occasional Pistons game. I'm doing Detroit City. I'm doing all of Oakland's games. Now it's a career. You know what I'm saying? Like now
you got it.
Now we got it. Yeah. You know, now we're making, you know, we're not breaking the bank, but we're making a real living doing this.
Yeah.
And then that kind of morphed in. I got hired in at ESPN Radio in like 2016, 2017, around there. Kind of same role, like filling in for guys.
Yeah.
But again, you know, I'm spinning all these plates, but I'm doing it. And it just kind of continued. And the Detroit City thing turned into a contract with ESPN's production company. So now I'm going to South Florida and doing soccer all the time. And then Woodward Sports comes along, and after ESPN Radio, you know, kind of went away, Woodward Sports comes and gets a hold of me, and I'd worked with Darren McCarty at ESPN Radio, so he knows me, he's comfortable with me, and now here we are, man. Like I can't even keep the day straight anymore. But it's awesome. I make great money. I'm having fun. I'm going to everything I do is sports related. It's the dream, man. If I quit everything that I was doing, there would be 10,000 people that would apply for my job like that.
Yeah.
Like that. I know me. That. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%, man. Like I know that. So, you know, I don't ever take this for granted. Never will.
And with that, and I wanted to ask this. I know that, I mean, I watch you guys on Big D Energy, you and Darren McCarty, you and Lindsey Hunter sometimes. Yeah. And then even on the radio, like when you do the Pistons, you're with Rick Mahorn.
Right.
So when you're with these championship level athletes, obviously I know over time you get friendly and comfortable and it's whatever, but how difficult is it for all the sparkly and the shine of the trophies and all that? Kind of like, when does that kind of come down to a regular level and they're just one of the guys when it comes to those superstar athletes?
When they turn the microphone on, because like, and this is going to sound, I don't know if this is going to sound cocky or not, but certainly going into it, I'm respectful of who they are and what they've accomplished, and they're champion, as you said, they're champion athletes. They're the best of the best in the world. But I'm not playing basketball against them. I'm broadcasting with them. I'm kind of trained for this.
Yeah,
you're
in
in my
world.
world now. You know what I'm saying? Like and I'm the boss, and I dictate how things flow and where they go, and I'm going to get out of you, even if you don't want to give it to me. I'm going to get out of you what I need out of you to make this work. So
that's what a broadcaster does.
That's what a broadcaster does, exactly. So I mean, as soon as they turn it on, man, like that's because I've been through the grind, dude. I've kind of come. I don't want to say WXOU is the mud, because certainly it's not. It's what made me. Again, the most valuable part of my college experience was not classes. Sorry, if any professors are watching that, it's not. It was real world application and a phone line dropping and an internet dropping in the heat of the moment when you're still talking, and you got to figure it out while you're talking. That's what shaped me. How could I be scared of talking into a microphone with somebody there? There's no way, dude. I'm prepared for any situation. I'm prepared for it. So I have no reason to be, no reason to be intimidated or nervous or anything like that. I mean, other than like the pregame nerves.
Oh yeah.
Other than that, but as far as when we're in the moment, man, we're going, and I've been built for this.
And with those pregame nerves, I've talked to other people and kind of asked them a little bit about that. Like, oh, do the nerves ever go away? Their answer is usually no, it never does. Yeah. But I'd like to ask you the same question.
Yeah, they have, but it's been much more recently. I would say probably about 4 or 5 years ago was when it really started going away for the first time, and that was thousands of hours of broadcasting, thousands of hours, and there's like a sheet where we're keeping track of how many games I've done. I'm pushing up to 500 college basketball games soon, and countless soccer games, and probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 games that I've called in my life. So, it's one of those things where it finally has gone away, but only because I've seen it all, like even at the professional level now.
Yeah.
Like I've seen everything. So no, I don't get nervous anymore. I don't know. It's kind of weird to say that's the case, but I remember talking to my wife about it. I'm like, man, I don't get nervous. The final one was when I would MC banquets. Like I do the Hall of Honor here at Oakland. That one always used to get me really, really nervous. Like I just couldn't wait for it to be over.
Yeah.
And I did one a couple years ago, and I never thought about being nervous the whole time or anything like that. That was when I knew I had a full command of an audience. This is where I've kind of been big into stand-up comedians like Dave Chappelle and Cat Williams and all those guys. And they're funny. Like, don't get me wrong, they're funny.
Of course, yeah.
But the thing that I take away is how they run the playbook of doing a stand-up, like live. They're basically emceeing a show, right? Yeah. More or less. They're talking to a microphone in front of a crowd of people. How they survey the room with their eye contact. And they go back and forth, and the mannerisms that they use, and the cadence they use, and the pace that they use, and all that. It's all deliberate. Like, the regular person doesn't understand that.
Yeah, it's all the mechanics behind it. It's so much. I mean, because all you have to do, you try it once, and it'll all hit you like a ton of bricks. Yeah. All the stuff that you have to think about at the same time, as well as you talking and delivering crystal clear.
Bingo. Like that's a non-negotiable. Like that's understood. That's a non-negotiable. It's just. When I do it, now I'm to the point where I can take into account the temperature of the room, right? Like the kind of moods people are in.
Yeah.
Do people need a joke? Have they been drinking in the crowd? Like, are they already loose? Can we go here? Can we go there? What's the makeup of the crowd? Is it older people? Is it younger people? Is there a mix? Do I need to vary the jokes? Do I need to tell older style jokes, younger style jokes? How do I talk? What the kind of words I use?
Exactly. Yeah.
Do I need to break out a sus? Do those kinds of things. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like we're laughing and it's joking and we're funny, but it's true. Some people would say you never need to use the word sus. No, I get that. But that's what's going through my mind when I'm up there. You are literally an NFL quarterback reading a defense. That's what you are. And the ones that are the best at it are the ones that can do it the most. Like Dave Chappelle and Cat Williams, they're the best at it. They're the best in the world at delivery. And again, you could talk about the jokes and it's funny and all that stuff, but the way they command an audience and command a microphone and command the way they speak, that's what I'm infatuated with it. To have that experience, to be able to do it, I'm infatuated with that.
Definitely, and obviously the skill relating to me is obviously a scale down a little bit,
Right.
but I kind of
Well, you're at a different stop of the highway.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a little further down the highway than you are. You're on the same road though. I can tell you're on the same road because you value the same things and you're picking up the same experiences and learning at the same rate. So, absolutely. We're on the same highway. I'm just a little further down the road.
Yeah, but for that, like whenever I get told, very rarely will people say like, "Oh, Giovanni, you're a really good storyteller." That means everything to me because for me, I mean, because broadcasting is storytelling.
Right.
I know that. And even sometimes for play-by-play, I'll begin it with like, and we're here to give you the story of the Golden Grizzlies and tonight is the Youngstown State Penguins. So,
and that's an avenue. That's an avenue that people do. I kind of lean more towards trying to be an entertainer. I like to entertain the audience. Like I'll joke around probably more than most play-by-play announcers will, but that's me. I mean, I've never said anything in my career for engagement, like 4 clicks, 4 likes. I do it to get some laughs. I do it to entertain you. And I call a game in the same way as if you and I were sitting on a bar stool watching at a bar having a drink and it was on the screen. That's how I call a game, as if I'm talking to you and my friend sitting right there. Hey, that's pretty funny. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. And for that, the storytelling aspect of it, I have uncles and I have family members that I know are some of the best storytellers, and that's something I've always just wanted. I want to tell stories like them.
Right.
My uncle Sam and my Cicipino, like they can make any story sound funny. If they're just getting out of the truck and they saw a bird crap on the concrete, they can make that story hilarious. And for me, like I want to have to be able to do that, for people to come to me and to like, oh, I just want to hear him talk. I don't care what it is. Kind of chasing that dragon a little bit for me,
man. Yeah,
and like you mentioned, it's a different style. You got a little more of the entertainer aspect. I like the story of it a little bit more. So, and I wanted to get into that a little bit, kind of your rules.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Of broadcasting. And yeah, let's get into that now.
Let's do it.
So. And I referenced it, Woodward Sports. They did a couple of rules when it comes to like, what's the proper way to eat candy corn or something like something like that. But I want to relate it to what you do.
Yeah.
I kind of want to narrow this to play-by-play, then we'll get to sports talk radio. But for you, just kind of off the top of your head, whether it's basic or not, what are your rules for play-by-play?
In terms of play-by-play, I mean, for me, it's just organizing your information. I got to a point, what kind of coincided with me not being nervous was when I had mastered my preparation, and that I have a chart that I make. You've seen them before.
Yeah, they're crazy.
Yeah. Well, it is, but it's not. Like it is, but it's very simple. I have awful handwriting. I mean, whoever you can think of in your life that has the worst handwriting, I'm worse than they are.
So
you
put doctors to shame.
100%. 100%. It's awful. So I have to type everything. That's just the way that it is. So I type everything, and I have everything color-coded, and the colors are the same, and I type like I talk. So I literally, if I have, number 23, whoever number 23 is, if I want to tell a story about them while they're at the free throw line, I know that I have the bio stuff in red. So I'd look down to 23, red, start reading. And I've gotten to the point now, too, where even if I have a typo, I can fix the typo from the time my eye sees it to the time my mouth says it, because your eye sees it, goes to the brain, and brings it out the mouth.
So there is a filter somewhere in there.
There is a filter, yeah. It's very small, but I'm able to fix it by that point for the most part. So that's how I work is my information, and I don't have a ton of it. Like people overkill the info. Play-by-play guys way overkill the info. You don't need any more than 4 talking points on any one player. You're never going to get to it. You're never going to get to it all. Never. So, I mean, that's my rules for play-by-play is you have a system that works for you, and you just run the playbook and run the playbook and run the playbook. I have created, if I've done 1,000 games and I've created 2,000 charts, that's just real. And it's part of it. It's part of the preparation. Now I have it streamlined, especially like in college basketball, they all run off the same website. Yeah, so I can get in there and just, I can get it cooking. It's a little tougher when I do NBA games. There's much more information, but it's not formatted the way that I like it. So I have to go in there and change the formatting. So that's it. Just organize your information.
Yeah, and I've seen his notes before a game because we did a little bit of baseball last spring. It's like hieroglyphics. He's got like you got acronyms
Yeah.
for freaking everything.
Right, right,
and,
right.
But that only comes because your eyes are used to it and you've
Right.
done it
Yep.
1,000 times.
It's my code.
Yeah.
It's my language.
Yeah, if you do it 1,000 times, you'd hope you'd be good at it.
Yeah,
right?
you would. Yeah, you would
It
think.
make sense.
Right. Shh, don't tell anybody. They think I'm like good at it.
So now for rules of sports talk, and I'm sure a little bit more comes to mind. I've heard you even kind of talk about them on Woodward Sports, but what are some of the do's and don'ts, rules of sports talk radio?
That one's a little more cloudy. For me, when I'm doing it, is I think the reason that I'm pretty good at that is because I'm passionate about it and it's real. Like, it's not organic. I never in my life have, I think I said this earlier, right? I've never in my life said something just to get a click. Even on talk radio, which is, that business is built on just saying stuff to say stuff.
I even just watched a clip today of you saying that same thing.
Yeah, like it's probably to my detriment at times. It's maybe why I haven't, gone national or something like that. But that's inauthentic, man. Like, I don't want to have to remember what my stance is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have to go back and say, well, wow, what do I think about this again? No, I just tell you what I think.
There is an unlimited supply
of what I think. Yeah, because it's what I think.
Yeah.
And there's like a subset of reasons that I think the way I think. I mean, I go a little more in depth on the financial side of sports than most will, but
you made that your niche.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, like, it's more often than not, that's the precursor. That's the puzzle pieces that tell you what's going to happen before it happens. I'm pretty good on that stuff, like saying who's going to be traded, who could be let go, all that kind of stuff. And it's just taking little clues and kind of working off that. So anytime I've ever said something, I'm not up here BSing you, man. It's like, it's how I really think. And I think that comes across as authentic.
Definitely. And that's always been, I mean, in life, I mean, this is how everybody should be. But, like I mentioned before, there's an unlimited supply of the truth. You don't have to think about it because it is what it is what it is. When you start making stuff up, you have to start, like you said, reviewing, covering your tracks. You're going to get found eventually.
Yeah.
People are going to find out. And then
no doubt.
Everything is gone. Your credibility, it's all gone. So to just stay on that kind of path, it's a steady road to drive on.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it just makes life, like, you want to know the bottom line of all this? I'm really lazy. All right.
And we call that efficient as engineers.
Yeah. I'm very efficient. That sounds a lot better.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm very lazy, right? And I don't have time. Like, I don't have time to go back and think about what I'm thinking about, if that makes any sense. I just tell you what I'm thinking and why I'm thinking it. And you can agree with it or disagree with it. And for whatever reason, people seem to agree with it or disagree with it. But that's kind of the magic in sports talk.
And then I'll end it because we're running a little low on time here because
Sure.
we got a job to do. We got to
do.
Sound
Yeah,
State.
absolutely.
So one last one. Where did "of course" come from?
I love telling the story. So as the Tigers got good, and I told you guys earlier, I worked with Mario and Pemba, who did Oakland basketball. As the Tigers got perennially good, like AL Championship, World Series good. You remember that run they had in the mid-2000 teens? Yeah. Mario's baseball season would run longer and longer and longer, and it would run till the end of October. And then, boom, basketball's there. This man just did 180 baseball games.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. Baseball broadcasters are insane, by the way.
Yeah.
They're insane.
I've done
anyway.
a few games of the spring. I'm like, these are long games. Oh my God.
And there's another one tomorrow. And there's another one tomorrow. And another one tomorrow.
Or there's another one in a few hours.
Yeah.
Just a doubleheader.
By the way, there's 28 of them this month. This 31-day month. There's 28 of them. But anyway, that's another story for another time. But Mario was like, I can't do it. I can't do the Oakland basketball anymore, man. Like, I need that 3-month break. And so I mentioned that's when we moved to the Horizon League, and that was kind of a break for me. So I became the voice of the Golden Grizzlies.
You got it in all your bios and stuff. It's a great line.
The voice of the Golden Grizzlies. So we were getting ready to play at North Carolina. We started one season. We played at North Carolina, at UCLA, at Cal, at Gonzaga. I mean, just a brutal, brutal stretch. So at the time, I was working for my old boss, Scott McDonald, and I worked together at the time. And he was very big. He wanted his staff to, like, read books all the time. But, I was working a lot, and so I didn't really have time to read a ton of books. So I would get them on CD at the time.
Yeah.
I put the CD in the car, and when I'm driving to work, I'd listen to it. And there was like a positivity speaker, Jim Rohn, not Jim Rome, the sports guy, Jim Rohn, Roan. And he was like a self-help kind of books. He wrote those kinds of books, and he would voice them over himself. Well, he had kind of like a Southern accent where he would say, if you could do the hard way or the easy way, what way would you choose? Well, obviously, of course, you choose the hard way. No, you wouldn't. Of course, you would choose the easy way. What are we talking about? Of course, you would choose the easy way. And so we had Travis Bader on our team at the time, who was one of the best. He was one of the best 3-point shooters in the history of college basketball. And I'm not saying like I wanted to come up with a hook because everybody comes up with a hook.
Yeah.
But I wanted to like push Travis, like how great he was.
Yeah.
And so I kept thinking about Jim Rohn, and I kept thinking about how he said, well, of course you want to do this, or of course you want to do that. And like when Travis would shoot the ball, you expect it to go in.
Of course it would.
Yeah. See, right there, So he would, and I'd started it off when Travis would shoot threes, and he would shoot a three, and he would make it. And we were playing at North Carolina that first game. And oh, by the way, speaking of Mario, I was nervous, the most nervous I've ever been in my life before that North Carolina game. Most nervous I've ever been in my life. Like in the game notes, my name's under there, under West Durham, who's doing it for TV and all that kind of. North Carolina's number 10 in the country or whatever they were. I'm at North Carolina.
Yeah.
Like Jordan's numbers hanging up there and everything. And I'm just terrified nervous. And I go on at 6:55, and it's like 6:50. And I get a text from Mario, and it says, hey, don't mess this up. And I started laughing. I did. I started, because that's, he's funny like that, So I started laughing, and it really relaxed me. And,
ironically, it relaxed you.
yeah. So it did. It relaxed me, and we went on and we were doing it. And so Travis catches the ball in the corner. He shoots a three. I'm like, Bader for three in the corner. Of course. And, we went on and we did it. And so we went to the commercial break, and I pop open Twitter, and I see like a couple of tweets. They're like, that was awesome. Just a couple of people are like, of course. Well, of course it went in. It was Travis. Right away. Instantly. That first TV timeout. And I was like, I think I'm going to roll with this. And the people loved it. Travis loved it. They made shirts about it. People's fans made signs about it. The arena gave away cards that would say 3, of course, on them. It was electric, man. It was a ton of fun, and I've kind of carried that over throughout all my sports, and it's worked. I mean, at Detroit City FC, they were playing in a championship match, and their top goal scorer scored a goal. And I didn't even think about it. It just happened at the time because it was like a 2-2 game. There was like a minute left.
Yeah.
And the guy, Tyrone Mundy was his name. He scored a goal to give them the win. They were going to win the championship. And all I could think about, of course it was Tyrone Mundy.
Yeah.
Of course. And I was like, Tyrone Mundy, of course. And like the fans went ballistic about it. They loved it. I signed somebody got a big photo, like a 16 by 20 photo of that goal. And they wanted me to sign it for their friend's wedding. They were like Detroit City FC fans. So I signed it for them, and that always stuck with me, man. Like the of course it went everywhere, So that's kind of how I got it, man. That's the inside look. It was born the night before a game, and I did it, and it worked, and people liked it. So again, going back to the whole professional wrestler thing, I did it and people liked it. So I add that to the bag, and then I try some other stuff. When they block a shot, he sent him back like he forgot the ranch.
I heard that. Yeah, you just did that on
the Pistons game. Yeah. Send it back like an overcooked steak, all those kinds of things. So, and the people like them. So I add it to the bag, and I add it to the bag. And that's how it works.
It's a great story. Hey, I'll tell you what, I'm a big fan of course, as well.
Well, of course.
So, Neal, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Sadly, we're running out of time here.
Whatever I can do for WXOU, man, I love it here. I'm telling you, like if you're a student here and you think maybe you want to do this and you're a chemistry major or whatever, come to WXOU, man. Do it. Go do it. And the worst case scenario is it's not the way you want to go, and you make some friends, and a couple of them stay your friends for life. That's a worst case scenario. And the best case scenario is you do Pistons Wizards in Washington, D.C. on Martin Luther King Day. That's the best case scenario. So it's somewhere in between that.
you'll find it here at WXOU.
Absolutely.
Neal, thank you so much for coming on to the GioMoShow. You can find this on WXOU Sports, as well as game broadcasts, as well as highlights and interviews like these. Everything is on WXOU Sports on YouTube, and you can listen to me on the GioMoShow now Mondays at 12 on WXOU, and you can find me at any time, YouTube and Spotify as well. From Giovanni Mosheri and from Neal Ruhl, well, we'll see you later.